Hey everyone, this is a tutorial video for how to build an octahedron frame. And I'm going to be building it to the size that you need to have for the caged cube tutorial that I'll be doing soon. But you can really build this at any size you want. It scales very well. But basically what you need to build are two of these. And you can see that if you ignore these supports here at the bottom, that this is already half of the octahedron frame done already. And I'm going to show you how to build the other half. And there's two important differences between the two halves. And the one that you need to know right this second is that they are different polarities. So if you build them the same polarity, they won't mesh together at the end. So you have to do them opposite polarities. Now anyways, the way you start out is with 3 triangles. And so you get one, and what's important is that the short edge is 2, and the long edge can be whatever you want. For this video, it's 17. So 17 by 2. And then you need to get another triangle where the short edge is again 2, but the long edge is 1 longer. So this is going to be 18 by 2. And then finally, you need this where the short edge is 3, and the long edge is back to whatever it was here. So this is 17 by 3. And so what you do is you take the, whatever the one with the long edge, the 18 by 2 here, and the 17 by 3, and you stack them on top of each other, just like you would do for a solid octahedron. And just let them mesh together like that. And then you can take this one and attach it on the other side of the 18 by 2 and also have it mesh in, leaving you with a 3-layer thing that looks like this. And you can see that there are kind of square spots out here on the ends. And you don't have to do this right now, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it. You can add single magnets onto those to bring it out to a point. Just like that. And now what you need to do is take a chain and remove all the magnets in the middle, leaving 3 rows of magnets on each edge. So go ahead and take out all of those magnets all the way through. And this is what it should look like when you're finished. And it kind of has a tendency to bend up. I don't know if you can really see it, but you can kind of press down on these points and flatten it out. But that's your base. And you start off building both halves this way, but again, opposite polarity and everything. So now it's time to start building up the legs, and this is the time-consuming part. So what you do is you take a chain, and you make sure that it's the right polarity to where it will mesh in, and I have it backwards. So you want it to be able to mesh in like that. So now what you do is take your chain, and don't let it do that. And so right now the short edge is 3 magnets. So what you want to do is go 1 more than that. You want to take 4. And then you add another row down on top of that. So you have a double row that's 4, then 5. And then you add 1 more row, so it's a triple row with 4, 5, and 6. And then that piece here goes down, meshes right in on top of the base, just like that. And you do that to all 3 corners. Okay, now you have that. And it's not super necessary right this second, but you do need to start it now for it to work. And that is that you need to add scaffolding magnets to keep it from collapsing while you're building it. And the way you do that is you can see how there's kind of a blank space between these corner pieces that you just added on. So you take your chain and you add a row like that. And you'll remove these at the end but you want to do this for every layer. You add scaffolding like that. And now that the scaffolding's added, you go ahead and do the second layer. And it's the exact same, except instead of using triple rows of 4, 5, 6, you want to use triple rows of 5, 6, 7. So go ahead and do that. So now that you've added on the next layer of corner pieces and scaffolding, for this layer you need to do something a little bit different. And that is that you need to very carefully pull out the middle magnet in the row of 7 for each corner piece. Just like this. Just like that. And you need to do that for all 3 corners. And be careful, because if you're rough with it, the corner pieces kind of have a tendency to fall apart. Okay, so that's done. Now you want to go to the third layer, which will have a triple row of 7, 8, and 9 magnets. Or, sorry, my mistake. A triple row of 6, 7, and 8 magnets. I got ahead of myself. Now again, when you've completed this third row, you need to remove some magnets from the corner pieces that you just put down. Except this time, what you're removing are the 2 middle magnets from the row of 8, like that, and then also the middle magnet from the row of 7. And you may need to kind of gently squeeze these magnets back into the arrangement that you see here, because they do kind of have a tendency to fall apart once you do this. And they do get more stable. It's just this part is really tricky. But you do that to all 3 corners. Now you can add on the next layer, which uses corner pieces of, you guessed it, 7, 8, and 9. And again, you want to remove those 2 rows of magnets. This time it's 3 from the middle. Let me see if I can get it. And then 2. And you do want to actually leave that last magnet this time. So it'll look like that, and do that to all 3 corners. Okay, and on to the next layer with corner pieces of 8, 9, and 10. Okay, now I've mentioned earlier that there were 2 differences between the 2 halves, but I've only mentioned one so far, and that's the polarity. And that's because up until this point, that's the only difference. But this layer with the corner piece that starts with 8, then 9, then 10 is where it starts to be different between the 2 halves. And that's because this overall octahedron frame at this size has an odd number of layers. So I made this one layer taller than I'm going to make this one. So for this one, what I'm going to do is start building these struts now. And the way that you do that is you remove the magnets from here, like you've done in the past couple layers. But this time, instead of removing 2 rows, you only remove 1 row of 4 on all 3 corners, so that it looks like that. And you don't want to remove this other row. And now on this half, you would remove that other row, and this layer would be treated just like the one that I did underneath it. But for this one, I'm stopping one layer earlier, so we're doing this now. And this is the second to the last layer for this piece. It would be the third to the last for this one. So whatever size you're doing, you want to do this at the second to last layer for that half. And so you leave 2 rows here, and then you actually add another row on the scaffolding over here. So you end up with that. And then finally, you add the last layer, which is using corner pieces of 9, then 10, then 11. Okay, and again, you add the double row of scaffolding for this layer. And you only take out 1 row on the corner pieces. So you are left with this. And you can see here that there's kind of a short edge, which is the corner pieces, and that's 9 magnets long. And there's a long edge between them, and that is 11 magnets long. And so, whereas on this one, they're all even at 10. Everything is 10. So, and the only difference there is that this one just went up 1 more layer. But now that you've completed all the layers, now what you need to do is remove the scaffolding. So on the edges that are made up of the corner pieces, that's easy for this one. You just have to remove 1 magnet, and it makes a little hole. And now for this one, you can see you would have had to remove 3 magnets because of the extra layer. And then you can remove all of the scaffolding here. And if you were wondering what to remove, you can see in here there's kind of like a whole wall that's just 1 layer of magnets thick. And that's what you want to remove. Just like that. Now, sometimes when you remove this scaffolding, you may notice that this row of magnets, the innermost row on this side wall, will kind of bend away. You can see mine's doing that right now, like that. Sometimes, and I can't really predict when it's going to happen, it just doesn't want to stick. So what you can actually do is remove that wall very carefully. You don't want to disturb the rest of it. Then take a chain and let it just mesh in, and then it'll stick. And this side isn't exactly perfect either, so I'll just go ahead and fix it. Just like that. And now you want to go around and remove the scaffolding and repair those edges if you need to for the other 2 sides. So here we have the 2 halves with the edges all repaired and the scaffolding removed, except for these supports here. And again, the 2 halves, just as a reminder, the 2 halves are different polarities. And for this one, this half is going to have to be one layer taller, or one of the halves will. If you were building this with an even number of layers, then both sides would be able to be perfectly identical except for the polarity. But if there's an odd number of layers, then one of the halves is going to have to be one layer taller. So anyways, so you have these totally complete now. And if you're going on to my caged cube tutorial, then this is where you want to stop. You want to leave this in halves and use these pieces for that tutorial. If you're not going on to that and you just want to make the octahedron frame, then you take them now and very carefully, because they have a strong magnetic field, you want to kind of align the V there with the small face here with the big face on this one. And if you did the polarity right, they should mesh together, and then just let them pop together, just like that. And now all you need to do is remove all of those supports that were keeping them stable before, because now you don't need them. And there you go. That is how you build a octahedron frame. And I don't know what the exact magnet count is right this second, but I will figure it out and post it in the description to the video. So now I guess I will smash it.